from Absolutely Fabulous, here to talk to you today about grinding your coffee beans. First off, you need fresh beans. That's the most important part of any coffee process. But once you get your beans, how do you get them from the beans into the pot? There's the old-fashioned way. Now, when I was a kid, we had one of these, and it had little curves here, and you used to put it between your knees and sit on a chair and go like this, and it smelled fantastic, and I think I became addicted to coffee at about 6 years old just from the smell of grinding beans. The problem with this is you don't get a lot of consistency in your grind. It's mostly for a drip coffee maker. You can't usually get it fine enough for an espresso or coarse enough for a French press. But great if you have a power outage and you didn't grind your beans. You just grind, turn the handle, comes out into a little drawer, and you might have to do it a couple of times to get a pot. But it is a great way to interact with your kids if you want to get them addicted to coffee without actually tasting it. This is your simple blade grinder. You put your beans in the grinder. You can see it has a single blade. The way this one works is by holding down the lid, or putting the lid on, holding down and making a connection with the grinder itself. It's a safety thing so that you can't actually have the blades going without having the lid on. And again, you're not going to be able to control the precision grind because it works on the length of time you grind. The longer you grind, the finer your grind will be. So if you're trying to reach an espresso grind, you're going to have to hold it down longer and keep looking at it to see if you're getting a fine grind. So if you're into a variety of coffees in your house, it isn't the optimum. If you want to have a simple grinder that works well every time, figure out how long it takes you to get your consistency of grind for your particular coffee maker, and in this bowl you will get enough beans to do your average 12-cup coffee maker drip style. If you're going to get into something a little bit more, with a little bit more variation, especially if you're like me, I have an espresso machine that I like to use for special treats of lattes or cappuccinos, and then I have a drip coffee maker, and I also have a French press, which means I don't want to buy 3 different types of grinds. I want to buy one bean, my favorite bean, and grind it 3 different ways. So these are burr grinders. Burr grinders are the best grinders out there because they actually grind the coffee without heating it up too much. The danger in using a blade coffee maker is you're actually going to heat up the coffee bean, and when you do that, you lose some of the oils and some of the flavor, therefore. So the burr grinder sits down in here. You can see it's a little bit more complicated. It almost looks like an auger that feeds down into the machine. You put your top on. Again, it's a safety thing. I now have no access. Hands can't get in there. I can't jab a spoon in or something to get a bean that's stuck. And by turning it, I go from over here, a very fine espresso grind, which starts at number 1, all the way around to number 18, which is a very coarse French press grind. I have a start-stop here. I can set the number of cups, or I can override the whole thing and just hold it down and do manual. It all grinds and shoots into my little container, which has a lid on it. And you don't want to fill it past that, or you're going to shoot dust back up into the grinder, and that can be a problem. The grinder will not work if your container's not in position, and that's a safety feature too, because you don't want to have, or I guess a mess feature, you don't want to have this stuff shooting out all over the place. This particular burr grinder is by Cuisinart. The other one we have, tiny little bit more sophisticated, is the Breville grinder. It works much the same way. You have your burr grinder. Safety feature being that it will not work unless the whole thing is set up and locked into position. This one goes from your very coarse French press, rotates all the way through, and does an extra fine, which is Turkish. Turkish coffee is almost like dust. It's so fine. It's almost a powder. It's a very thick coffee, and the only way to get it is to get that flavor is to get the grind very, very fine. So same idea. This one just has a simple start. You can set it for how many seconds, so you don't choose your cups on this. You just choose your time, and it shoots it out into the little container, and there you go. You have your max fill line on that again. Very simple. Nice range of coffee grinders, and very important if you're addicted to coffee in a variety of different ways. Thanks.